We're getting rare insight this morning into a scam. It targets and steals money from grandparents. Carter Evans sat down with an admitted con artist who reveals how it works. He's in Los Angeles with a CBS News investigation. Carter, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. The scam begins with something most grandparents don't get enough: a phone call from a grandchild, or so the caller says. But it almost always ends with a desperate plea for money. And the criminal you're about to meet used to be on the other end of the line. Shackled in federal custody, this 31-year-old con man is awaiting sentencing in California for his role in what's known as the grandparent scam. I'm Carter. He agreed to let us in on how he did it, but only if we wouldn't reveal his name.
You can make 10 grand sometimes in a day if you do it properly.
Part of an elaborate scheme run out of Canada, he would call senior citizens in the U.S., impersonating a grandchild in distress, begging for cash. Give me an idea of how a typical call would go.
So you just say, hey, how are you? Hi. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandpa. I'm under the weather. It's a bad connection. I'm in a little bit of trouble right now. If I tell you, just keep it between us. I'm on vacation, but I got into a little accident, and you know, I was arrested for DUI. You tell them things got out of control, and I need you to send me the money.
How many people would fall for this?
1 out of 50, maybe.
It's estimated senior citizens are robbed of roughly $3 billion a year in financial scams. Phone scams are often run outside the U.S., out of boiler rooms like this one busted in Canada last year. And con artists usually buy their victims' personal information online, including age and income.
We target people over the age of 65, mainly, because they're more gullible, they're at home, they're more accessible. Once you get them emotionally involved, then they'll do anything for you, basically.
Doug Shadell is with AARP.
We've had doctors and lawyers fall for this. It doesn't really matter what your educational level is, because it triggers something emotional that causes you to act.
I was upset and sort of frantic.
It happened to this 81-year-old grandmother. She was home alone in California last September when her phone rang.
Hello?
The caller said he was her 29-year-old grandson, arrested for driving drunk in North Carolina.
There was a desperation and an urgency in his voice, partly because he said, love you.
Did it sound like him?
No, but he said he had a broken nose. I just wanted him to be home with his family. That's all I wanted.
So she immediately sent almost $18,000 to a bank account in North Carolina, thinking it was going to a lawyer. But her grandson wasn't in jail and wasn't in North Carolina. Her money was gone.
Please enter your authorization.
We dialed the number of the person who called her. It's now disconnected.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed at this time.
You are blinded by emotion, totally blinded. You don't think rationally when this happens. You know, your family comes first.
It's just so cold-hearted and horrifying.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Ellen Lindsay prosecuted the scammer we spoke to.
And the effect on the victims is so great. It's not simply the loss of the money. They feel stupid, they feel gullible, and they have nightmares about it and anxiety and depression.
People are going to want to know what drives a person like you when you know how much pain it's causing people.
I didn't know how much pain this was causing people.
How could you not know?
I thought people, you know, were making $100,000 a year and they would lose a couple thousand here and there.
But that doesn't make it okay.
I mean, people lose money all the time, but it's just, I don't know.
And in most cases, they never get it back. What did you do with the money?
What did I do with it? Spent most of it.
I think he recognizes now that it's a despicable thing that he did, and he's doing the right thing in trying to get the word out. He also knows that this will be a factor considered by the judge at his sentencing. But if you ask me, what he's most sorry about is getting caught.
Do you feel remorse?
Of course. Wouldn't you?
It's hard to tell how many senior citizens have been scammed like this because there is no national database to track the grandparent scam, and many grandparents are simply too embarrassed to report the crime to police in the first place. And it's also very hard to catch some of these scammers, Gail, especially when they are operating outside the U.S.
Listen, Carter, we're seeing that the emotion card works when you play it with grandma and grandpa. So if grandparents get these kind of calls, what do you suggest that they do?
We know a lot of these callers are very sophisticated as well, so you've got to watch out. Sometimes they're using computer software to display a familiar phone number on the caller ID, so it really can be hard to tell who's calling. Now, the scammer we spoke with told me two things. Basically, he says, ask a question that only your grandchild would know. For example, what's your dog's name? And second, confide in someone. Tell someone, even though the person on the other end of the line will beg you to keep it a secret.
Carter, that is really good advice. I feel such a contradiction here because it's such a despicable thing that he did, but I appreciate that he's telling us what we can do to avoid it.
I agree, and I just got an email from a friend who said, so glad you're doing this story. It happened to my grandmother.
And now, Grant, we can put grandparents on notice. They always like it when you call. Carter, we thank you.